Is Tony. In the 1990s, there was a huge console war that had erupted between Nintendo and Sega. Now, this war had been brewing since about the late 80s, and for a while it seemed like they were neck and neck, and then in the mid-90s, things seemed to change. Sony entered the picture, and it became a three-way race. Ultimately, there had to be a loser, and that loser ended up becoming Sega. And Sega would soon discontinue in 2001. But before that happened, they released their last two consoles, the Sega Saturn and the Sega Dreamcast. Now, arguably, there's a lot of people that say the Dreamcast was a great system. Now, no questions about it, it was. But there are still a few that also believe the Saturn was a good system. So, the truth is, which one was better? Was it the Saturn or was it the Dreamcast? And that's what I'm going to find out today. This is Saturn versus Dreamcast. Now, the first thing we have to look at, obviously, is technical specs. So these are the best tech specs along with sound cards. No, just best graphics. I'm going to start things off with the Saturn because it's interesting. The Saturn was originally meant to enhance 2D games. Essentially, it was meant to be an enhancement of a Sega Genesis, which had one called the Sega CD, which had another one called the Sega 32X, but we don't talk about the 32X. But unfortunately, the Saturn, starting off its production cycle, had to immediately drop into 3D games thanks to the announcement of the PlayStation 1 in 1994. When the PlayStation 1 eventually came out a year later, yeah, that was a tight race that Sega ultimately lost. Now, when the Dreamcast came out, on the other hand, it was considered revolutionary for having 128-bit graphics, essentially a step up to something like GameCube or PlayStation 2 standards. Speaking of which, yeah, the PlayStation 2 eventually got announced in the summer of '99 and was released in the spring of 2000, and that pretty much killed any momentum the Sega Dreamcast would have had. And eventually, both these consoles will lose out to Sony. So, I'm giving this one as a tie, mainly because they both got screwed over by Sony. So, tie it is. Now, nothing's more important from the graphics than the design of the console itself. This is best console and controller design. The Dreamcast had a unique design, but when it came to the color variations, yeah, there weren't that many. There was about one that was notable, and that was the Sega Sports Black Edition, which is considered by many to be very rare to come across, but if you do, yeah, it's a crap ton of money. But to add along to that, its controller did use something unique to save its games, something considered a VMU. Now, along with the ability to save games, it also allowed gamers to take the little devices with them on the go and play little mini-games based on various games. These also had various color variations, similar to the controllers, but again, it's a range of colors. Not as many, but it's a range. The VMU, though, did cause a problem with the controller itself, and that would be the risk of possibly pulling out the controller in a fit of rage, which could cause your system to crash. Yeah, a lot of people had this issue. And having just a little slot in the back to push up the controller to the top, yeah, that did not help at all.
The Saturn, on the other hand, had a look that may have been a little generic, but it did have the uniqueness of a RAM cartridge slot, which was used to save the games. The system did receive a slight console redesign in 1996 as to better appeal to the American audience. On top of that, the controller layout it used was similar to a Sega 6-button controller that would be used in many fighting games. But there was an additional controller released in 1997 called a 3D control pad. These were made for games like Sonic R and Bomberman. So, I guess when it comes down to it, which one came out better? I'm going with Saturn, yeah. Because Saturn at least tried to look a little more Sega-ish than the Dreamcast. So, yeah, Saturn wins this one.
And of course, if you're going to have a great console, you're going to need some great games to go with it. These are the best games.
Saturn did have some good games like the Sakura Wars series, Panzer Dragoon Saga, and Sonic Jam. It did give us games like Sonic R and a huge slew of adult-only pornographic games. Oh my god, there were so many pornographic games. Holy shit. The Dreamcast, on the other hand, ended up releasing phenomenal hits like Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, Space Channel 5, Crazy Taxi, Sonic Shuffle, Phantasy Star Online, Jet Set Radio and its sequel, and Ready to Rumble Boxing. So, yeah, I guess when it comes down to games, this is a pretty simple answer. We're just gonna go with Dreamcast. Yeah, for as much as I like the Sakura Wars series and Panzer Dragoon Saga, yeah, Sonic R and a bunch of fucking pornographic games doesn't help. No, it does not. God help me. So, Dreamcast wins this one.
And nothing tops off all this better than a great marketing campaign. This is the greatest advertisements.
I'll be honest, the Dreamcast did have a better advertising campaign in North America with the 99.99 campaign. But for this compare and contrast, we're honestly gonna go far and beyond American and going into the Japanese market. So, yeah, we gotta talk about Yukawa Hidekazu. Yeah, this advertising campaign is good, but not great. And to talk about the storyline, it's kind of self-reflective of Sega. Essentially, you have to have some knowledge of Sega's background to understand these ad campaigns. But essentially, the series centered around Yukawa trying to get the Dreamcast to be a success. And for the first 4 episodes, that's the actual setup. Yeah, 4 out of the 8 commercials in the whole commercial series is that setup. The remaining 4 is just him trying to make sure it stays a success. Hell, they even bring in another character just to help him out with this. So, yeah, that's all fine and good, but Sega Saturn compete with this? Well, while the American market was kind of thin and wasn't pretty much memorable, I mean, they just essentially did David Lynch-style ads, we gotta talk about Sega Sanshiro. Sega Sanshiro was essentially a judo master in a parody, essentially going around beating the living hell out of people, forcing them to play Sega Saturn. And when he's not doing that, he was sometimes getting himself involved in the various games he was advertising. From House of the Living Dead to Sakura Wars. And let me tell you, that last one, they somehow found a way to make that canonical. Yeah, in the 3DS game, Project X Zone 2, yeah, they say this is canonical when Segata makes an appearance. Yeah, it's just mind-blowing how great this guy is. And to add insult to injury, they gave him his own game. Yeah, when the Saturn was about ready to end, Sega decided, yeah, let's give him his own game. Now, for the record, Yukawa did get his own game as well. But here's the thing. Both these games are like night and day. Yukawa's game is good, but not great. Segata's game, on the other hand, just fucking took the commercials to the next level. It was astounding how they were able to pull that off. And here's the other thing. They still kind of use him. Yeah, Nissan, a Japanese food company that makes UFOs along with ramen and any other product that you could think of in terms of Japanese snack foods, they rehired the original actor to come back and reprise his role for a few commercials. Yeah, it's astounding. This guy literally has shaped the face of advertising not only for Japan, but for some parts of America. And it's just mind-blowing. So yeah, in the end, who wins? Saturn. Hands down, Saturn wins. And that means Saturn won this whole thing. Because Saturn was truly underappreciated and honestly deserved more. So Saturn wins. Saturn wins. Saturn wins.
So, in the end, yeah, I do believe the Saturn was Sega's last great console. It's nothing against the Dreamcast, though, as the Dreamcast was the true final. It's just, the Saturn for some reason just felt a little more Sega than the Dreamcast did. Now, granted, the Dreamcast had better games, and also granted, both of these systems got royally fucked over by Sony in terms of performance. But, yeah, in the end, I just went more with the Saturn than I did with the Dreamcast. It's nothing against the Dreamcast itself, it's just, again, the Saturn just felt a little more Sega than the Dreamcast did. I don't know. But all this talk about Saturn and Dreamcast just got me thinking about all the other consoles out there. Hell, it actually got me thinking about other regions. Who knows? Maybe I'll find a way to play some of my other Japanese exclusive games. Until then, this is Tony, and I'm signing out. I'll see y'all next time.